Good morning, Ian. Thank you so much for taking my call.
It's my pleasure, Lucy.
I was just wondering if you could tell me about Cerule, because I just think it's so fantastic to be able to hear it straight from you.
Well, Lucy, Cerule is a totally remarkable, cutting-edge company, and it just warms my heart because Cerule, formerly known as Desert Lake Technologies, are the company responsible, with the work of Christian Drapeau and Dr. Gita Jensen, to develop an amazing product known as the world's first stem cell enhancer, known as Stem Enhance. And now they have a new generation of Stem Enhance called Stem Enhance Ultra that is better than ever. And it is so remarkable because it enables your own body to naturally release many millions more of your own adult stem cells out of your bone marrow into the bloodstream. And when you know what adult stem cells do, to me that is just totally, totally miraculous. Lucy, would you like me to touch upon what are stem cells and what they do in the body?
That would be excellent. Thank you. I'd love that.
Well, let me explain stem cells in a few different ways. I call stem cells the repairmen of the body, and they're actually the master cell within the body. And let me depict it this way. For many years, I actually was a repairman. I was a carpenter, and I actually used to renew and repair old houses. And if the house had an old bathroom or an old kitchen or a hole in the roof, I could go into that old house and put a brand new bathroom, a brand new kitchen, or a brand new roof on that house. And that is so similar how your own stem cells work within your own body. Because when you put a stem cell in the brain, it becomes new brain. Put it in your heart, becomes new heart, kidney, liver, pancreas, knee, eye, you name it. Your own stem cells have the potential to renew any cell, renew any tissue, and renew any organ. And when we are young, very naturally, we have a very high number of adult stem cells releasing out of our bone marrow into the bloodstream every day. So an example of that is when you're young, if you, say, break a bone, that bone can renew very quickly, but at a very high level. But as we age and get older in life, if we break a bone, the bone doesn't renew so quickly or at such a high level. But not just your bones, every organ and every tissue. And so if you look at your body and wellness and look at aging even, your body's always breaking down, it's always renewing. If you should break down more than you renew, you go out of balance, out of ease. Some people may label it disease. But if you can renew more than you break down, you go back into wellness. Well, that is what stem cells do. And our wonderful research scientist, Christian Drapeau, he's in the middle of writing a book right now that shows people who are unwell very often have about half the numbers of adult stem cells in the bloodstream compared to people who are well. Because even if you look at disease outside of stem cells, you could say disease is tissue loss. So if someone has diabetes, they have tissue loss of the pancreas. If someone's got macular degeneration, it's tissue loss of the retina in the eye. And again, not talking about our product, but just looking at your body renewing, what helps renew those tissues and cells and organs? It's your stem cells. So having more stem cells in the bloodstream, or more of an army of repairmen, you're then giving your body more of a potential to help renew and regenerate those organs and tissues. And so it's very much correlated and related.
I really like that. I had this image just when you were saying that of having a big building like a hotel that needs repairing, from when you were saying you were a carpenter, and sending one guy in to do the job. And of course, things are breaking down faster than he has a chance to fix it. And, as opposed to having a whole army come in, a whole team, and get the whole job done.
And what I love about stem cells, to depict what we have, this is different to any other product or say vitamins. For example, vitamins nourish cells, but it's only stem cells that can make new, fresh, healthy cells, new, fresh, healthy tissues, and new, fresh, healthy organs. So it's a different category of products. And also, a lot of aging, again, is your body breaking down more than it renews. And stem cells also help make new telomeres as well. And telomeres is also related to aging. And also some of the world's top anti-aging experts, they talk about even aging is a shift in your metabolism, where when you're young, you're very much in an anabolic state, which means repair, renew, restore, regenerate. And as we age, we lose our anabolic state. We become more catabolic, which means break down, wear down, die. And they say the key to stay younger longer, is to stay in an anabolic state. Well, the most anabolic cell in the body is a stem cell. So no matter which way you look at it, it's all related. And even when it comes to Chinese medicine, in Chinese medicine, you never run after symptoms. According to Chinese medicine, if you balance the organ systems and energy pathways in the body, the symptoms go away. Well, what do stem cells do? They renew the foundation, the organ systems, and every pathway and tissue within the body. And so what we have here, to me, is just so wonderful how we can do something so fabulous in a natural way.
Absolutely. And how have you, so what are the products?
Well, our foundational product, our newest generation of Stem Enhance, is called Stem Enhance Ultra. And the source of that product is algae. And let me talk about these special algae. One of the algae is a fucoidin that's actually sourced by a wonderful Australian company in Tasmania called Marinova. They're a scientifically based company, and they harvest their fucoidin from the pure oceans of Tasmania and Patagonia. And I believe it's probably some of the most pure, most powerful fucoidin in the whole world. And another source of our product is a wild algae that grows in a volcanic lake in Oregon in the United States. Now, let me just talk about why using algae is so powerful. Because if we go back to when life began on Earth, the first life forms were bacteria and then algae, which is cyanobacteria. And this is so profound because algae is the base of the food chain. And every step you go up in the food chain, you lose a part of the power. So by going to the base of the food chain, you go to the pure power, and you cannot get any closer to the base than algae. And when life began on Earth and started with algae, there was no ozone layer, and all the radiation came flying in, and the algae made properties to protect itself against radiation. And algae has properties of an animal, plant, and bacteria. It's got a proteinaceous cell wall like an animal. It's got chlorophyll like a plant, but it shares information like bacteria. And it's got properties of all three kingdoms. So it's very independent, very complete, and very profound. And because it's part bacteria, whenever algae's been in trouble in the world over the millennium, it can send information that goes all around the world. I'm in trouble. What do I need to survive? And it gets back what it needs to survive in the same way that antibiotic bacteria learns to survive antibiotics. And so in its DNA, it's full of all this innate intelligence since life began on Earth. And so it's very profound. And fast forward to today, the fucoidin, which is from the ocean, and then the wild algae known as Aphominonoson flossaqua, or AFA for short, that grows wild in a volcanic freshwater lake. You've got both freshwater and ocean algae here, and the lake in Oregon that's volcanic is so profound as well, because it's a very high altitude lake. It's very pure and pristine. It's got the highest population of American bald eagles outside of Alaska, which are very sensitive to pollution, and that in itself shows how pure and vital the environment is. I believe about 20 miles north of Klamath Lake is the world-famous Crater Lake. Crater Lake is an old volcano that blew up, and in the crater it filled up with water from underground springs. And this water is so pure, it's meant to be some of the most pure and pristine water in the whole world. Well, Klamath Lake mostly has the same water source as Crater Lake. There's about 17 rivers and streams that feed into Klamath Lake, and the source of all these rivers and streams are all from these underground springs. And they are so pure and pristine, they're known as the rivers of light. About 7,000 years ago, Crater Lake was known as Mount Mazama, and it was one of the largest volcanic eruptions in history in North America. and billions of tons of vaporized ash went all into the Klamath Lake Basin and all the thousands of miles of surrounding volcanic mountains that surround the lake. And we are from the earth, and we need all the nutrients and trace elements from the earth to be healthy. And that's the source of the nutrients that feed the algae, because whenever the snow melts or it rains, it's like a mineral funnel of thousands of miles of the volcanic sediment in these algae, all funneling into Klamath Lake. So there's 60 times more of every nutrient and trace element in the lake water than the algae could possibly ever use. Now, every winter, because it's such high altitude, this lake freezes. And most of the algae dies and becomes part of the sediment on the bottom of the lake. Then in the springtime, when the ice melts, it is the survival of the strongest and the fittest. So it really is a true wild food. And bugs and insects do not attack wild foods the way they do cultivated foods. And so when we eat wild foods, in turn, they can be so strengthening to us. And then when the algae grows in the summer, it can actually double every day. And energetically, that also shows regeneration, rejuvenation. And it's ironic. It has qualities and properties in there to help your body release your own stem cells that regenerate and rejuvenate you as well. Now, the average depth of the lake is about 8 feet deep. And even if no new nutrients should go into the lake water, 1 inch of the sediment on the bottom of the lake could feed the algae for the next 60 years. And there's up to 35 feet of this sediment. It is remarkable. And the algae, it's like a little self-contained filament, a little tiny blade of grass, and it has like a little gas vacuole in it. When it wants even more nutrients, it can let out a little bit of gas. It dives down to the bottom like a submarine, and it can hang out in all the sediment. When it wants some more sunlight, it aerates itself, comes up just underneath the lake's surface, and hangs out in the sunlight and the sunshine. And when you look at it through a microscope, you can see the trapped sunlight in it. When you're eating it, you're eating light. And so for multiple reasons, the fact that we have the source of life and the source food of this earth, this foundational food, algae, is our raw materials to help to release our source cell or master cell in our body, is just so related and so profound, because the whole energetics of algae is balance and harmony. Algae produces about 80 to 90% of the oxygen we breathe, and it really is the foundation of life. If there'd be no algae, there'd be no life, and they say what's good for the macrocosm is good for the microcosm, and so it is so related to wellness for us as well.
Oh, that's extraordinary. Thank you so much for relating that. I love the trapped sunlight, the fact that you're eating sunlight, and I have certainly found that just in the last 3 to 4 days. I always think that anything that works remarkably quickly is probably a little bit suspicious, so I'm never looking for a quick fix. But what I've noticed myself is that I have only had 1 raw smoothie during the day and then a tiny bit of dinner. Like, that's it. I'm not hungry for anything else because my body is obviously getting mega nutrients.
Exactly. I hear that very, very often. That's wonderful.
Which is so efficient. It's so efficient. And so if you think about it, it was like, do I want to eat mountains and mountains of salad or green? But, from what you're describing, it's almost like eating a lettuce leaf in comparison. Would be sort of like eating a piece of cardboard in comparison to, all the nutrients and the trace elements and the, everything jam-packed into that, like micro packs.
Exactly.
So we've heard about this wonderful algae, the 2 different sorts, and, I like the green and the blue. It feels like, I think, you were talking to me about this before, it's like the colors of life, and it does. It feels like eating a tiny planet for me.
Exactly, a blue-green planet.
Yeah, it feels very special. I actually handed the bottle to a friend of mine who's very intuitive and stuff like that, and she's got a very big clinic and very well-renowned practice, and she just picked the bottle up and said, "Oh my goodness, I need this." I said, "You don't even know what it is." She says, "I don't care, I need it." And she did a bit of testing on it, and she said, "If I take this, I'm going to have 572% improvement on my health now. And she's very healthy right now. So I wouldn't have looked at her as someone that particularly needed this product from a health standpoint. But, that's what she got. She was very precise about that percentage for herself. And, her list of clients shows, how tuned on, switched on, tuned in she is. So I thought that was quite interesting myself. So I thought I'd better call you and find out a bit more about it. So please continue if there's anything more you'd like to say.
Yeah, let me touch upon our two other products. I've talked about the Stem Enhance Ultra. And our second product is a product called Cyactive. And there's a component in the wild algae and also in the Cyactive, which is an anti-inflammatory. And the Cyactive, it's an extract from spirulina, and it is actually a COX-2 inhibitor, but it also covers the secondary pathway of inflammation, and it's got 7 years of research on it. And it's probably an outrageous, or probably one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories in the world, I believe, by the results that I'm hearing from people, because a lot of people who have inflammation in the body, a lot of people talk about how inflammation is even the beginning of disease. And by calming down or putting out the fire of inflammation in the body, it really helps with the body, not developing, getting out of balance so easily. And not only do people see results with their physical, discomfort when they get on the product, a lot of inflammation is going on in the body where you don't have any pain receptors. And so a lot of people would have systemic inflammation and not even know about it. Now, a second part of inflammation is when stem cells come out of the bone marrow into the bloodstream, inflammation to a stem cell is a bit like background noise. And so if there's a lot of background noise going on in the body, then the body or the stem cells cannot really hear or tune in to where they really need to go to regenerate. So by calming down the inflammation, you're then allowing the stem cells to listen and hear where they really need to go within the body. And so it really complements the trafficking of where your own stem cells need to go as well in addition. And then the third product we have is a product called Plasma Flow. And Plasma Flow, not only is it super antioxidants, it's got a component in there that helps to digest what's called fibrin mesh in the bloodstream. And fibrin mesh inhibits our blood flow. And you see, if your blood doesn't make it to all the microtissues and microvessels, oxygen, nutrients, and also stem cells don't make it there. So by increasing the blood flow around the body, you're increasing the delivery of oxygen, nutrients, and also stem cells all around the body as well. And they all work together. And so our three products are all standalone products, but also they all help to enhance each other. And so it's extremely, extremely powerful what we have here as a product line. And what I love about Cerule, it's all scientifically based. And even our research scientist, Christian Drapeau, he's the first person in the world to hypothesize that your own adult stem cells are the renewal system of the whole body. And he's also the author of the best-selling book, Cracking the Stem Cell Code. And he's the keynote speaker at many stem cell biotech conferences around the world. And so his credibility being a leader in this field is absolutely phenomenal. And in addition to that, he's such a gentleman, and he is somewhat even an ambassador of peace. And that's what I love about this company, because it's a company that totally respects the dignity of life, and that means the world to me.
Thank you. And I just also have seen, by looking at this product, I think I have a perfect product to offer people really confidently, because, I've looked at this, there are no fillers in there, there's no free flow agent, there's no synthetic component, there's nothing that's being boiled down from coal tar, like you see in a lot of the synthetic vitamins. It's a totally efficient fuel source for the body. At its most, it's very efficient, at its most potent. And so we're really looking at the most perfect vegan and vegetarian food here. And, I know that when you give something to animals and that changes their life and their health, and you can see that, then you know without a doubt that it's no placebo. And that's all.
Well, that's a very good point. Animals seem to respond to our product extremely quickly within days. Often I've seen the most outrageous, most powerful results. We do not make any health claims, so I will not talk about what I've seen, but I've seen the most remarkable thing with humans and animals, but animals seem to respond even faster than humans. It really is truly remarkable.
I've heard of people giving this to their horses with great success, and their animals and their cats and stuff. And I know that you guys are working on doing a product line, especially targeted towards animals, which I think is really wonderful because you don't often see that in a company either. And I also love the fact that there's only 3 products, and like you said, they all work synergistically together. As a price point, I haven't seen anything this cost-effective in a long time, and one of my key things is I research and I trial and I put every superfood that you can imagine into my mouth, trialing things, and it's taken me 13 months of researching in this way to find this product. And as I understand it, it's literally only just gone into its bottles, hasn't it? It's only just been bottled, and we're still it's very new to be able to get this.
Yeah, no, we're a brand new company here in Australia, just a couple of weeks old. We're just like a newborn baby getting started. We started in the US over a month ago. And it's a brand new, beautiful company, even though the company's been around many years, but in this form, making the products directly available to people around the world. It's brand new, and it's totally, totally beautiful where we're going and what we do. And I believe we're going to really help to impact the world in a beautiful, positive way.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you so much for your time. I think that pretty much covers everything that I need to know to really be able to talk to people about this. I love the story about the algae especially, and the point of difference, because I have a lot of people that just say, oh, look, I take spirulina, and I've been doing that myself. I've been taking spirulina and barley grass and all these alkalizing foods, because we do understand now, most of us, that we need to be more alkaline and we need to get the inflammation down in our bodies. And most of us see inflammation as sore joints or knees, but that's usually by the time it gets into a state where it becomes an issue in the body. So prior to that, of course, you've got inflammation happening in the cells, but we can't see that yet. So I love that this addresses that, at its cause. And I refer to the products as the red, blue, and green, because they're the 3 different colors that you guys have got on the bottle. So that's definitely what I will be ordering every month as a little trio. And would that be what you would recommend for your normal healthy adult? Just to get one of each, or if you could just get one, what one would you recommend? Would there be a recommendation?
Well, I look at the foundation, because the foundation of your body to be stem cells, the Stem Enhanced Ultra would be that. However, if someone has a lot of inflammation in the body, I would say people see results very quickly, very often with the Cyactive. So you'll see the Cyactive very often, the working of it extremely quick. So if I was going to add a second product, it would be the Cyactive, and then all 3 would be ideal. But also take people individually. If they're ridden with discomfort, the Cyactive might be a good quick fix for them to begin. Yeah. But in general, I'd say the stem cells are the most important, because then you enable those stem cells to go to work in your body.
I would agree. So it's really like giving your body, which is the master builder, the tools it needs to do what it needs to do within itself, which means that it becomes specific and unique to every person.
Yeah, exactly. And because I call stem cells a repairman of the body, I'd say 2 capsules once a day is like a maintenance amount. If you want a medium amount of regeneration, 2 twice a day. If you need a lot of regeneration, take 2-3 times a day. It's like having a repairman working around the clock. Then when the repair is done and someone feels better, then you can back off to 2 once a day or twice a day, more of a maintenance crew, depending on how much your body's breaking down naturally, depends how much you need to speed up the renewal to put it back into balance. So, that's kind of like my thumbnail of how much someone should take.
Okay, and just lastly, do you see anybody? Does anyone have any healing reactions? As their body comes into balance, do you have any old injuries that may flare up? As that stem cell, as the stem cells are being directed to that part of the body, because as I understand it, when the body goes in to heal something, you can get old memories and old pains and stuff coming up. Do you witness that at all in people?
No, on occasion it does happen. The body seems to do a clean out or a flare up, and I believe there's something that's called Heron's Law, where sometimes the body may trace back through any states it's had earlier in life and have a flare up of those as they're cleaning out of the body. So emotionally and physically, anything is possible with a flare up where you might get worse before you get better, but it doesn't happen all the time. Just here and there, someone may go through it, and it's very, very interesting. And very often when it happens, it's like those symptoms are similar, but a little bit different. And that's another way to recognize it. It's similar but different. There's something different about it, and so it's quite remarkable and interesting what happens to people as they go on their own journey to help their body get back into balance again.
Yeah, I found that myself. I sprained my ankle quite a while ago, and I think it was the third day after taking the blue and green capsules together. That ankle was slightly swollen and it was stiff, and I thought, that's really strange. What have I done to my foot? And I hadn't done anything because I'd literally been at my computer for a couple of days, so I couldn't have. And then I remembered. I got the instant memory of me twisting the ankle, and it had never really healed properly. So I'm really excited about that all that energy is obviously going there, and obviously the body knows that more work needs to be done around that. And then within a day, my ankle was great again, and the flexion in it, and my flexibility has doubled, and so I thought that's really exciting because you don't normally hear about you getting older after an injury and getting better. You normally hear about your body winding down and getting stiffer and sorer. So I think just for me to witness that in such a short space of time has been quite remarkable.
And there are a percentage of people I've seen over the years, not everyone, but a small percentage, that their grey hair returned back to their normal colour. And so that is also very unusual as well. And it's quite funny to see that.
Well, that makes sense because as I understand it, the pigmentation is the last priority of the body. And so basically if it's got X amount of energy, it will send it to areas with more priority. But once they all get, sorted out and fixed and addressed, then the body goes, oh, I can go back to making brown pigment for my hair or blonde pigment. So I think that's the ultimate sort of example of rejuvenation, like you're saying, like to see that's, we see hair that's rich in color again, and we think of, youth and rejuvenation and vitality. So I think that's great to hear that. Thank you.
No, my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ian. Thank you for your time, and I really look forward to seeing you when you get back from your holiday.
Great. Well, thank you, Lucie. It's always great to spend time with you, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
I will be bionic by the time you get back. I'll be superhuman.
All right. Thank you.
Ian.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a lovely afternoon. Bye.